Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Welcome back, conscious creators, to week 5 of the Christos Chronicles. I am Christos, and today we are going to be discussing Aquarius, free at last. Now today, you guys are kind of getting like a 2-for-1 because I usually do the astrology breakdown separate from the Christos Chronicles. But today we are in a really aligned point. And I mean that from a cosmic standpoint and just from an everyday standpoint. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and it's really a big day in America because a lot of sacrifice was made for Black Americans to have freedom. And this is honestly why I chose to use Martin Luther King for today's video, is because it's Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King was also a Capricorn. He was born January 15th, making him a Capricorn. So Martin Luther King does fall kind of close to Aquarius. Aquarius season begins January 21st. So I do believe this is why Martin Luther King does have some influence of Aquarius inside of his purpose. And the reason why I say that is because Martin Luther King really spoke heavily about freedom, which is a hallmark of Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of freedom because Aquarius corresponds to the planet of Saturn. And we all know that Saturn wants to keep us binded through contracts, through debt, through obligations, through things that we've committed to. But Aquarius is an air sign, and air does not like to be grounded. It does not like to be confined. It does not like to be limited. So I think that this is the dynamic that we see when it comes to Aquarius and earth energy of Capricorn. Now, I know I might be confusing you guys a little bit, but right now we're going backwards in the astrology wheel. I didn't start from Aries, which is the first zodiac sign. We started our series from Capricorn season, since that's when the new year began. And I felt as though, why not get a head start on what we know as the official new year, which comes in March. And this is something that I've been doing for some time now. I don't just acknowledge January 1st as the new year because everyone else does. It's the opportunity for me to get a 90-day head start on the rest. So why not take that opportunity, right? So with that being said, we still are in Capricorn season. Capricorn is an earth sign. If you didn't get a chance to check out the Capricorn video, I highly recommend you doing so, because I think that I laid a good example in the character or archetype that I use with Rocky. And that is someone who is determined. That is someone who is committed, consistent. They wake up every day and they commit to their purpose. And I think that we also saw that in Martin Luther King, with him being committed to seeing an end to segregation, racism in America, etc. And although he wasn't here to necessarily see all of the fruits of his labor, in 2026, Black people are able to go to school with white people. White people share restrooms with Black people, etc. The list goes on. So I do feel as though a great deal of his purpose has been accomplished in America. Is there still more room left to grow? Yes, there is. But for the most part, what he fought for as a whole stands in America. And that's why we acknowledge Martin Luther King Day in America, because it is a sign of the time when things weren't as they were today, which is free. We have a lot more freedom in America. And that brings us to Aquarius, because I think when you look at Martin Luther King and you look at Aquarius, you're like, okay, where do they correspond, or where do they cross paths? His whole speech, the last speech that he was most renowned for, which was the Free at Last speech. And in his Free at Last speech, he talked about the unification of all of humanity. And going back to what Aquarius energy represents, it represents humanitarianism. It represents innovation. It represents a time where humanity is connected through consciousness. And that's what Aquarius represents, sitting at the 11th zodiac sign in the cosmic wheel, is that it represents the final form or final stage of human consciousness. And that's why we see the glyph of Aquarius pouring out the water. Many people confuse Aquarius as a water sign for this fact, but the water bearer pouring out the water is symbolic of Aquarius pouring out old, outdated beliefs. We have to grow. That's the only way that we're going to grow. And Aquarius brings that growth through its invention and innovation, something that is inevitable in human development. We're always going to be innovating because we're always creating. So ultimately, that's what Aquarius energy brings, is the freedom from confinement, the freedom from the chains that have kept us bound to old ways of thinking and being. Aquarius is calling us to evolve into a more freer form of our existence and our being. So I feel like the perfect example today was Martin Luther King and everything that he stood for. And I think that this is the perfect example of someone who bridges the gap between Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, in astrology, Capricorn and Aquarius are both governed by Saturn, which is the planet of karma, debt, death, transformation, a lot of things. So when we talk about these two energies, I think that these are probably two of the most important zodiacs to talk about when it comes to making change in society, is Capricorn and Aquarius, because they both correspond to the planet of Saturn, which is the ruler of the 3D. So that pretty much concludes today's video of the Christos Chronicles. I really want to give you guys a 2-for-1 in today's segment. I didn't want to have to make two totally different videos. But yes, this is the transition, the crossover going into Aquarius season in Western astrology. I know some people out there follow Vedic astrology and it doesn't happen until much later. But whatever system you choose to observe, we are still transitioning from Capricorn entering into Aquarius season. So what that brings is a sense of freedom, but we cannot enjoy that freedom if we are not determined, if we're not committed, and we're not disciplined, because that's ultimately what freedom is. It is the reward of discipline. So that concludes today's video, guys. Until the next time, Cosmic Christos signing out. Wholeness.